Ieri pomeriggio le ho detto una serie di cose segrete, segreti militari.
Che sta cercando di dirmi, generale?
Signor Presidente, facciamo così. Lei prova a indovinare e io nego. Non c'è altro modo, perché se lei sopravviverà, considerata la sua integrità, so che non riuscirebbe a restare in silenzio e cambierebbe il corso dell'umanità.
Quindi c'è qualche segreto di cui non sono a conoscenza.
Lei non sa niente, signore. Nessun presidente ha mai saputo niente. Ma non sono io quello che parlerà. Io ascolterò e basta. Faccio un tentativo.
Terroristi?
No, signore.
Governi stranieri?
No, signore.
Americani? Qualcuno che vuole vendicarsi?
Di nuovo, no, signore.
La mia prossima domanda è... E non riesco a credere che lo dirò ad alta voce.
La ascolto, signore.
Si tratta di alieni di un altro pianeta, allora? Buon Dio.
I wanted to do this for a while since I heard about this plan to make Trump the disclosure president, because throughout history, I think everybody can agree that pretty much every single president has been curious about this topic, but they've approached it from different angles. Just to give you an example, on one side of the spectrum, we have George Bush Sr., who was first director of the CIA. And that's when he found out that something was going on. He was denied access, and then eventually he became president. So who knows what level of access he got afterwards. Then you have people like Bill Clinton, who in the 90s attempted to investigate the topic, and he was essentially denied. A door was shut in his face. We got Hillary Clinton, who attempted to become the disclosure president in the 2016 elections. And then Trump got in the way, and her plan was completely ruined. We have Barack Obama talking about UFOs on the James Corden show, acknowledging UFOs as objects that we cannot explain, that exist, that are completely real. I think that everybody has been curious. Jimmy Carter, who is an experiencer, he had a sighting, and who knows who else, right? There are the more outlandish sort of accounts of Eisenhower allegedly making contact and having these deals, and who knows what Truman was aware of as well. So we have that famous speech from Ronald Reagan talking about this. So I think a lot of these presidents at least knew some of the information about this topic, but there are many who still doubt what President Trump knows or doesn't know, even though in Age of Disclosure and other places, it's already been established that he was briefed about this topic. But I want to go through his statements in public, at least some of them, throughout the years. And the more recent ones are the most interesting, I think, because he had always stated that he wasn't really a believer, you could call it, but he's been briefed. And there's proof that this happened by his own account. So let's go step by step on the most important and interesting statements he's made over the years, which also go into the drone phenomenon, which I have some information for you guys about that coming from Europe, which is very recent. But let's first see the statements that he's made over the years about UFOs. And the best way, I think, to start is Joe Rogan. They had a conversation on the only podcast Trump ever did with Joe before the election last year. And effectively, many think that being part of that podcast and other major podcasts like the Impulsive podcast, the Nelk Boys, Theo Bond, all of those guys, many believe that that was one of the reasons he won the presidency. And on the Joe Rogan podcast, they said this.
There's a lot of interest in the people coming from space, you know.
Yes.
And I know you're interested in that.
Oh, I'm very interested in that. How much did they tell you about that?
A lot.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd they tell you? How much can you tell?
So
how's that work? Is it like super
I think
top
I
secret?
Can tell, you know.
Tell me.
Well, based on Hunter Biden, I can say whatever the hell I want, right? But no. But I interviewed a few people. It's never been my thing, I have to be honest. I have never been a believer. I have people that Area 51 or whatever it is. I think it's the #1 tourist attraction in the whole country or something. Area 51 in Las Vegas. Do you know that, right?
Sure. I know what it is.
So anyway, but it's a big tourist thing. So I interviewed jet pilots that say they saw something. If you saw them, you'd love to have them as your
I've had a
son.
couple in here. Commander David Fravor.
Yeah.
I had him in, who had that sighting in 2004. Very compelling with video evidence, radar evidence. Ryan Graves.
I don't believe his name, but I interviewed jet pilots that were solid people. Perfect. I mean, great pilots, great everything. And they said, we saw things, sir, that were very strange. Like a round ball, but it wasn't a comet or a meteor. It was something. And it was going 4 times faster than an F-22, which is a very fast plane, you know.
But this isn't the first time, as I told you guys.
Down in here.
Are there aliens at Area 51?
You know, I'll tell you, it's a funny thing because I think that might be a question that I get more than any question. It is the craziest thing. So we have that so-called area. They consider it like a sacred area. And I will say this. I don't think I'm a believer, but I've interviewed pilots that look, I like Tom Cruise, but better than Tom Cruise. The blonde crew cuts, the whole, and this, yes, sir. And they were in the Oval Office, 3 or 4 pilots. These are not people that make up stories. These are, they said, all I know, sir, is there was a round object that was going 4 times faster than my F-22, which is a very fast plane. And it wasn't, you know, it shouldn't have been. It was round, sir. They have seen, I mean, 4 or 5 guys I've interviewed, solid people, great pilots for the U.S. Air Force, etc. They've seen things that they cannot explain.
Follow-up question.
Also a maybe.
Follow-up question, Mr. President.
Two last questions, Mr. President. The UFO issue is back. The Tennessee congressman wants it. What did you learn about UFOs when you were in the Oval? Do you believe in them?
That's a very interesting question, I'll tell you. You have believers in that like you wouldn't believe, and they're very solid people. And then you have people that don't believe. And I really more focused on Russia, and I focused on China, and I focused on North Korea. You have people, though, I will tell you, I interviewed a couple of people from the Air Force, and these guys were central casting, perfect guys with their crew cuts, and they walked in, they were handsome as hell. I said, what do you think? And they believe it. I mean, they believe it. They said they saw it. And
so you got briefed on UFOs? You got briefed on it? When you were president, they briefed you on UFOs?
I was briefed, yeah. I was briefed.
So do you believe in them?
I always have an open mind, but you know what? I focused on things like China and things like, you know, unfortunately, I had to also focus on garbage.
He spoke to Lex Friedman as well before Joe Rogan, and this is what he said.
People are very interested in footage of UFOs. The Pentagon has released a few videos, and there's been anecdotal reports from fighter pilots. So a lot of people want to know, will you help push the Pentagon to release more?
Did you see how serious he got there when he started asking the question? That's interesting.
Footage, which a lot of people claim is available.
Oh, yeah, sure, I'll do that. I would do that. I'd love to do that. I have to do that. But they also are pushing me on Kennedy. And I did release a lot, but I had people come to me and beg me not to do it. But I'll be doing that very early on. But I would do that.
So based on that level of push that he gets and those negative responses from him trying to release the JFK files, comes a really interesting exchange on Pod Force One, where he was asked about this and he seems to have slipped. And he seems to have revealed that talking about the drone issue is something that he can't do. Something or somebody is preventing him from talking about it, from revealing what it is. This was before the election. He said this about the drones.
It seems like the American people have a big distance. The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster. Want to know the truth.
So yeah, that was before. And then on January, when he won, his press secretary said that they were FAA approved and there was nothing to see here. And I know, and this is new information, I know from people who worked for European governments, institutions, who are aware of the drone issue in places like Belgium and England and other places, where they are treating it as UFOs, not drones. In the US only, they're like trying to categorize them as drones, but the Europeans, they're treating these as unidentified flying objects, not drones. So, and I know that there's a lot of people that think that these drones are just mechanical. They're still really mysterious. We don't know where the hell they are. They're still hovering over sensitive military installations where they have either nuclear material or some other type of sensitive mineral, which is already very strange. But when he was asked on the Pod Force One podcast about this is what he said.
I wanted to ask you about drones. We had the issue in New Jersey before the election where there are all these people thought UFOs or an attack of the killer drones. And I believe you're doing something about.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I know I can't tell you who it was and what it was, but yeah. I can't really tell you. I'd love to tell you actually, but it's not a big deal.
It's not something frightening.
No, but I just, so obviously it's something that I know about, and it's not a problem at all.
It was legal.
He was about to say it's not up to me. So I don't know if I read that wrong when I did the video about it, because I did a video about this when it happened. And there's a recent connection that I forgot about, which is that Donald Trump and his campaign got a donation from none other than Robert Bigelow. And this means that Trump is tied financially to one of the biggest figures in UFO history, recent history, who has tried to allegedly bring out some of this material to the public. Bigelow led the NITS initiative. He ran Bigelow Aerospace. He tried to get materials from Lockheed Martin. And at the hearings and in Age of Disclosure too, it was acknowledged that when this attempt to exchange material was happening with Lockheed Martin, Glenn Gaffney from the CIA stopped that. So in the context of that, I want to show you this from President Trump and the connection to
One of the best developers you'll ever see. He's big, he's rich, but he's a high-quality man, builds some of the most beautiful things you'll ever look at. Robert Bigelow. Robert, please. Good-looking stuff. Thank you.
They're walking among us. I said, what do you mean they're walking among us? I said, they're walking among us. They live right here.
So based on that, you guys know where this is going. If Bigelow donated millions to Trump's campaign and they had some alone time or some time to speak amongst themselves in private, can you imagine what Robert Bigelow spoke to Trump about? So it's not just Jay Stratton, who actually was part of Bigelow's operation at a certain point. It's also Bigelow himself. And Bigelow has been MIA for a while now. He hasn't made any public appearances at all, but he's one of the most interesting people within this movement. And I can only imagine that he would be interested in trying to get President Trump to disclose. And this donation might be one of those incentives that he used just to get a little time with him and talk to him about this and talk to him about these topics, like what James Fox is talking about here.
Ne sono assolutamente convinto.
Crede anche che gli UFO siano venuti sulla Terra?
C'è stata e c'è una presenza extraterrestre.
Dove esattamente?
Proprio davanti al nostro naso. Oh mio Dio.
Wow. So, when you ask, how much does President Trump know about the topic? Just know that he's been talking to people like Robert Bigelow, Jay Stratton, probably David Grush, because David Grush was also at a certain point doing presidential briefings. So how much does Trump know? I would say a lot. And I wouldn't discount what other presidents knew in the past either, but this is the one that we should be interested about. And yesterday I did a video on Marco Rubio and the possibility that he can be the disclosure president if he gets elected after Trump. But the one that people are focusing on right now is Trump. And I'm hearing a bunch of stuff that may or may not happen over the next month or so, because there's this push from Representative Burleson to try and pass the UAPDA, but there's also this effort to try and convince Trump to say something after the age of disclosure release. And it kind of seems like over the next 2 or 3 weeks, there might be some heightened activity. And I don't know if this is tied to other efforts that you see in the UFO world, that efforts that garner data and that do conferences and that try to put the word out, but work more behind the scenes than they do in public.